Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where right now is 10:25 and I'm having an exam today. Don't know if I told you, right? Probably not. Probably haven't. It's just, time has gone so fast by, so I probably haven't even mentioned it. But yes, I have my first exam today. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's gonna be all fine. It's gonna be all good. I'm a bit stressed, because the garbage guys outside my apartment this morning, they were all like, making noise. So I woke up preemptively, so to say. So that wasn't the best, the best conditions before the exams, I would say. So I slipped in an extra 20 minutes there of sleep, and my mate who was all like, "Oh, we're gonna meet at 10," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure, we're gonna, oh, yeah." And now it's 10:30, and turns out he's not even here. But what do you do? What do you do, right? So cheers for that. That today's the first exam. Today's the first real chunk that is going to be taken away. Well, except for the French, but I don't count the French. Not in a bad way. It's just that it's not business in the same way. But today is going to be the first big chunk of what you would say the semester that is actually going to be taken off my shoulders, so to say. So yeah, cheers for that. Well said, I'm a bit stressed, I'm a bit nervous, and this is probably going to be a very light video because I'm going to prep for the exam even though I've done it the entire week and I've done it the entire previous week. Well, we're still gonna do it today because, yeah, why not, right? I usually have the philosophy of being, the day before I don't study that much, and I kind of did yesterday. I just went through everything once and I felt like I knew everything. But the one thing I had a bit of a hiccup with, is the thing that I'm going to go through with you today, and that is the job characteristics model by Hackman and Oldham. Now, not Oldham as in an old ham, but it's an Oldham as one word, as as the name, the surname, let's say, the Oldham. Now, what is the job characteristics model then? Well, the model proposes the 5 characteristics of the job can influence individuals at work, and that is so true because there are different things that makes people, influence at work, just as it says. So the first one then is skill variety, then moving into task identity, then task significance, autonomy, and feedback. Now, what are all of these 5? We're going to go through it in a sequential manner because of my Western ways. No, but you know what I mean. We've gone through that, bit of an inside joke if you haven't seen this before. So yeah, if you haven't, don't think I'm a racist or anything, but Midwestern stereotype as going through things in a sequential manner. I know I'm explaining the joke, it's not funny anymore if you explain it, but let's get through it and let's start. Just don't want to step on anyone's toes yet again. So, skill variety. The job requires a number of different activities to be carried out and the use of a number of skills. Now, how I see this, right, is that you're working on one consecutive project. You're working at one project all of the time, you're not changing the project, but you're working at one project and you can utilize different kinds of skills at this project. Now, let's say, for instance, that you're building a car, and instead of building a car with the, what's it called, the moving band? It's called the moving band. Swedish, if you just directly translate it. But the thing that Harrison Ford introduced, when you're just standing at one station and you work with a certain particular thing, and then it moves on, and the next thing comes, and you're at the same stage in the development of the project or the product at the same time. So you're a specialist at doing one thing. I think it's called the moving band principle or something like that. But yeah, this is kind of the opposite to that. So instead of making a car where everybody has an individual task and they're just passing it on right when they're done, instead you're taking the car and you're taking a team and everybody builds it. That means that basically every day that you come into work, you have a different thing you can do. You can make the seats, you can make the steering wheel, you can try it out, you can make in today's world, you can make the computing power that is going to work inside of the car. You can be the manager, you can be the distributive manager, you can talk with suppliers, you can talk with customers, you can do marketing research, you can do different things. So skill variety. The job requires a number of different activities to be carried out. So that's basically how I identify and how I define the skill variety. Now moving on to, and I do have text here, yes I do, but this might kind of my explanation. Moving into task identity, just reading off the description they have here. When the job requires the completion of a whole and identifiable part of the job, doing the job from the beginning to the end. Okay, so this is probably more of a project then. You're starting with the project and you're finishing the project. So this is more, I would say, you're taking it from the raw material all the way to the customer and the consumer. Now, what's the difference between customer and consumer? Customer is the one who buys, consumer is the one who uses it. Probably the same people, a lot of the time, but for instance, if someone buys dog food, I doubt that they're the consumer of dog food. Just a diversion, it's a bit of a diversion, the more you know and all of that. But yeah, task identity is basically you are going out and making, in my opinion, you're going out and making the market research, right? Then you understand what kind of project you're going to do, what kind of need you're going to fulfill. After that, you do some market research, and I know I've said that twice now, but you do some market research on what the gap in the market is, what the need to be fulfilled is, and then you do some market research on how you can fill this. Then you go in and make more research, additional research, right? Always good to have lots of prep to how you can develop this thing that's good, this product, the service that is going to fill the gap in the market. After that, you go out and gather the necessary supplies for it. You make a prototype, and then you sell it to the company, basically, right? You're pitching it to your top management. After that, if it goes through, you're going back and making it. If it doesn't, then you probably will modify it or drop the project entirely. But that's how I identify task identity. You're working with something from the beginning to the actual end, right? So you kind of the manager, the top manager, right, in the project, the product manager, so to say. You're working with it from beginning to end. It's very important. That's the thing, right, from beginning to end. And that's, obviously defines on how you are defining it. It will change the variety there, because you can say that someone who's working on a phone, right, and working on a specific application on the phone, they're actually working with that application from beginning to end. Yes, that's true, but however, the person who's working with the entire phone, making sure that the phone is constructed, produced, and shipped off to consumers, and then bought, and then gotten feedback on, that's the one how I say is most inclined with task identity. But yet again, it depends on how you define and reframe the concept. Next, moving on then, is task significance. The job has a substantial impact on the lives of other people. Now, what this basically means is that the task you're doing, and it's kind of obvious when you think about it, but task significance, how significant is the task that I'm doing? For instance, you might not be interested in money. If you're anything like me, you're probably more inclined to, work for the work's sake. You're probably looking towards a job, and I know I'm studying economy, so this is hypocritical as it is, but what I'm meaning is that you're trying to do something that you enjoy, something that you love, something that would actually have an impact. For instance, mate, if I were to go and work at Blizzard, I would probably think that this is a quality product, right, that I'm distributing to other people. And if I were to work in marketing, I would really believe in the product I was selling in marketing. Hence, when I get home, even if I hadn't gotten a bonus, I still worked at a company, and that would be the significance, like my task significance, my internal intrinsic reward. And I know that the people that I've come in contact with, and the people that I've moved with my marketing, right, and my PR, those are the kind of people who will get this impact, this substantial impact of life, like the change in their lifestyle, because they probably will start playing one of the games and enjoy themselves, right, instead of just watching series mindlessly. Not anything wrong with watching series mindlessly, I do it too. But that's a bit of task significance. You're doing something that significantly impacts someone else's life. Now, can say, of course, take the more normal examples and say that if you are a firefighter, for instance, or a policeman, or someone who's driving an ambulance, or a doctor, you're probably having very high task significance because you're saving lives, right? And that's kind of having a huge, substantial impact on other people's lives. And then you're probably not just inclined to earn money, you're actually inclined to help people as well. So yeah, that's a better example of task significance. Just thought I was going to slip in some Blizzard things there, because they're in the process of filtering through all of the applications right now, and I'm still in the process, haven't been declined yet. Hope I don't jinx it. Then we have autonomy is the next one. The job is structured in a way that provides people with substantial freedom, independence, and this creation. I think they meant creation. Freedom, independence, and creation. But yeah, the entire thing here is basically that you're working in self-managed teams, you're having a decentralized structure, you're not feeling forced by top management to do something just because they said so. If you have a task, you can actually change the task independently on what you think the need is now. Perhaps the task or project was started with this need in mind, but now you see that this need is actually not a need anymore. Some other product on the market have come out and filled this gap, or something else that we've done to fill this gap, but this is not a gap anymore because people just don't care anymore, right? About this need. It's not a need anymore because it was based on another product that no longer exists. Then you can change the task, the project that you're developing, and do something new with it. Yet again, if we go into Blizzard, they had Project Titan rumors, right? Project Titan, and they changed that to Overwatch when it turns out that didn't see it feasible enough or funny enough to the interactive experience of Titan, they changed it to Overwatch, which filled a, what you say, fantasy first-person shooter platformer game, which, well, turns out to be hugely successful. You know, PR marketing subconsciously in there. And yeah, this is not sponsored, by the way. Feedback then is the last thing. The work receives direct and immediate information on how well he or she is performing. Now, I would say that the best example of this is basically if you're in telecommunication, not telecommunication per se, but if you're a seller by phone, right? I don't know what that's called. Telefonförsäljare in Swedish. Phone seller, direct translation. Basically, when I was phone seller, when I called up people and tried to sell, and I was really good at it too. You know, you're not bragging, you're stating a fact, right? But yeah, then I was always talking to people, and as soon as I got to sell, or I didn't get to sell, someone were always there giving me feedback. And I mean always. There were not a single call, maybe once or twice a week, but basically all the time someone were on me and being like, oh, how did it go? What happened? Why didn't you get a sell? Why did you get a sell? It's something that you can share with the other people. It's something that you can't share with the other people. What do you think about this thing? How did you evaluate this performance? And I was all like, well, I think it was 18 at the time, and I was like, I don't know. No, but obviously I knew, and then you got into it. But the first couple of days, it was very much like, what? I got so much feedback, right? So it was kind of overwhelming in a sense, but it was all nice, all good. So that's a very good example of where you get the immediate feedback. So just to go through them again, this is the job characteristics model by Hackman and Oldham. Just again, the surname, not just an old ham. I know I'm funny, haven't I? No, okay. I'm gonna tone it down. And in these we have 5 things, right? We have skill, variety. We have task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback. And those are the 5 I'm probably going to nail on the exam if it comes. So yeah, that was everything for me, guys. Have a nice one, and I'll see you tomorrow with a bit of a, I think I'm going to do a review. Maybe I'll do a review about these exams. I don't know if you're interested in it. I'm interested in doing it because it's going to be a nice way for me to recap everything. So maybe doing that in 3 days. Have a nice one, mates, and I'll see you tomorrow.